Coming to you from the Ultra Staff Studios in Chicago, welcome to the Staffing Buzz Network with your host, Bob Petke. I still think that's one of the best intros in podcast today. Hello, Staffing Buzz Network, staffing and sports fans. That'll make more sense here in just a little bit. I am Bob Petke. I am the host of the Staffing Buzz Network. Thanks for either watching and or listening here again. I am the Chief Sales Officer for Ultra Staff Edges, our software. Our company's called Automated Business Designs. And just have the good fortune of being here, for people in the staffing world, just remember who we are. We are a full ATS CRM software solution. We've got so much technology. We're helping people in the staffing world fill positions faster, more effectively, more efficiently, maybe even reducing some of your turnover. A lot of good reasons to maybe visit us or talk to us. We're going to be at, and it's the reason why we're having this very specific podcast, is it's another episode that's really guided and geared to bring people some information as it relates to the Midwest Staffing Conference. That's right. The Midwest Staffing Conference, it's one of the best conferences, I believe, that's out there in regionally. It's going to be April 23rd and 24th, and it's going to be at the Drury Lane Conference Center in Oak Brook. So if you haven't already, get yourself signed up for this. We've got world-class speakers and industry experts. The way that they market this, and I'm a believer in it, it's a highly two-day event, highly anticipated. It's designed for staffing professionals from all over the Midwest. Some people even come further, are from further, where we're going to come together and people are going to get a chance to share their expertise, collaborate, and learn from industry leaders. And not only that, be motivated to go and do your job, maybe and have a different, fresh perspective on how you go about your day-to-day work. So to enroll in this, you could go ahead and go to the Illinois Search and Staffing Association website. You can just Google Midwest Staffing Conference 2025. You can email info at isssaworks.com. But get yourself registered for this great two-day event. And with that said, we're fortunate because we have a special guest with us. I'm bringing to the stage here Randy Fox.
Hello, Bob and everybody.
Randy, what does the fox say? You've never heard that before?
I never have. Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. You know the song?
You got the music or what?
Now, I would think you would have the music, brother. So, yeah. Hey, Randy, I'm going to kind of share a little bit about who you are. And, based off of your bio, I'm going to go right off of that. So I'm going to set the stage. So Randy, I'm the enthusiasm internally is building at an all-time high, because here's what I know about Randy. Randy Fox has incredible energy, leadership expertise, and has this undeniable stage charisma. So I won't see that today, but this is all going to come together as he engages with people who are in attendance at the Midwest Staffing Conference. Randy has delivered keynotes to tens of thousands of leaders across the country. The feedback Randy gets is they love his authenticity, his humor, his captivating stories that help them live and work with excellence. Prior to this, from what I know about Randy, is that, he was an international award-winning speaker, or maybe is, not was, because he's still with us, thank goodness. He's an author, a coach, and Randy earned his stripes. Now you might think of stripes like, how did Randy, you were in stripes for a while, weren't you?
I did. I had stripes a long time. 30 plus years of stripe wearing.
Yeah, record shows 23 years as an NCAA basketball official and 20 years filled with a lot of success, some failure along the way. And you've done some things as far as, corporate operations, as far as being a speaker. We're glad to have you here. Randy, again, this is, the Randy Fox show, so I like that because one day maybe we'll have a Bob Petke show, but I do a podcast all the time. So we'll see where this goes. But Randy, you're also an author, right? So, from what I understand, you've written The Call to Excellence, Influential Leadership from Impactful Results, Silver Platter Service, How to Create a Culture of Excellence. I'd be interested to see if that's part of your message, and A Leader Worth Following, right? The difference, when I think of that, I'm going to finish it off. A Leader Worth Following, the real take on real leadership. Some very poignant topics, probably for people that are in leadership roles to dive into, or as people evaluate, their own leaders on a regular basis. I think everybody's spouse knows when they come home what their leader looks like. But Randy, talk to us a little bit about, how you went from this career in stripes to where you are today.
Yeah, spent, like you said, a lot of days running up and down hardwood courts. Well, actually nights and weekends. And then spent the 20 plus years as a corporate leader. And I was a VP of operations, a plant manager. And way back in those days, I actually used and utilized the staffing network, if you will, quite frequently, because I was in the printing industry. Yeah. And our workforce had to scale up and down as different kind of seasons would happen. And so literally sometimes we could plan for that. And sometimes it was that morning I realized we needed more people, and contacting all of my partners in the staffing world. So that was a piece of what I did. I spent time in marketing, sales, and just always enjoyed and found the natural space in the organizations that I was in, where I was leading and developing people and our teams. And that just kind of naturally brought me to, this place where it was like, I realized that there were a lot of speakers out there. I know that. Went to a lot of conferences, but I always felt like there wasn't the relatability. There wasn't the engagement that I was necessarily always looking for. And so I just honestly felt that I was called to start my own thing. And so we started writing my own books, launching my own business. You did highlight a few of the books that I have written. I've published and written 8 now. The Call to Excellence is the newest one, came out last year. And the messages are really about helping people maximize not only their potential at work, but really how they can also have a fulfilling life. Because the reality is we aren't just professionals, right? We're people that have lives. And so I think that as a speaker, the role is to come in and, as you said at the beginning, help people be motivated, but also equipped so that their professional and personal life has something a little bit more than when they walked in the room, and as well as making that experience fun when I'm with them, right? Something that's memorable and engaging. And I certainly am not putting down other speakers that use a ton of slides, but I don't. I really try to create interactive experiences because I believe that people remember those types of things and stories, and they can see their lives in it. And that's just really what I'm passionate about doing now.
So Randy, the refereeing, that was not your day job, literally and figuratively. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, talk about balancing, right? Because when you show up at a game, nobody cares what you just did all day. They don't care what kind of mood that you are in, right? And in the collegiate world, right, where I refereed for nearly 25 years, those coaches, that is their living. Mm-hmm. Right? They are all making a living, and some of them a really good living, right? That you show up as somebody that it's not just a hobby, right? It is something that you have to show up with dedication. And how do you take what you were doing all day, do a great job with that, and then prepare yourself for something very different? balancing those schedules, communication with your team members, with your family, right? Balancing all of those things was really critical, because you can't just, as we would say, hook slide into a game and expect that you're going to referee well. At the time, I was living in the greater Chicago area when I refereed. Most of the basketball season is played in the winter. And for most people, we understand that that means lots of traffic and snow. And right, so you deal with all of that. And now you're coming into an arena and your brain has to be focused. All they care about is, what are you calling? And everything has to be separated. So you learn really well how to compartmentalize, how to focus, how to become fully engaged, how to be a great communicator, and how to balance all of those things. And so that the pressure to perform at a corporate job and then do something so different and have a pressure to perform on the court. And I joke with people when I speak, I'll probably say this, at the keynote, but the difference between me and most people is that when I was refereeing, they would replay my mistakes on the Jumbotron in the arena.
Yeah.
And so you've got real pressure, and then you can't let that get to you. You've got to go on, right? We're not perfect. And yet you still have to move on and get beyond, as we would say, next play, right? Next play, right? I mean, that's it. You can't relive that play. And I think sometimes that's where leaders and people can get held back, that we get so stuck in what has happened that we're now missing out on what we need to do.
So, I've got it's you and I are on this right now. People are listening in the room. I've got my producer, Jennifer Roselmeyer. It's safe to say that out of the three of us collectively, you are the king of the ones that have been booed the most. Is that a fair assessment?
Totally fair.
I don't know.
You know what? It would not. I don't know if I did my job if somebody didn't get upset in a game at some point, right? Because it's controversial. And at the end of the day, if you're playing it so safe that you don't do anything that somebody isn't necessarily upset about, it's like a leader that they play it so safe. They aren't willing to take any risk, that at the end of the day, that doesn't win. That doesn't create excellence, right? We have to be willing to get booed.
I think about that, right? And we talked a little bit offline. Our spouses, we come home and, our bosses might not know, but they get booed all the time too, right? So it's like we come home and we boo, not here. I've got lovely people that I work for, but at some point in my career, I'm sure that I've booed some folks along the way. And, so part of being a leader, right, is I'm listening to you and, you kind of led me here, but it makes sense. And I would imagine that, as somebody who does what you do, you likely don't have something brand new, but you need to have that thick skin as a leader. And to your point, even maybe take some risks along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be willing to fail, and, taking risk doesn't mean that you're risky.
Okay.
Those are not the same thing. And, how we approach that. And I have a keynote at the Midwest Conference that's coming up. And then I also have a breakout session. And, everything that we do is going to be helping teams grow, leaders grow. Maybe, as I say, reminding people of something that they're doing that they should continue doing, or maybe reminding people of something they know they should be doing that they aren't doing.
Sure.
A fresh perspective. Tell a story in a new light that suddenly people go, I can do that. I need to do that. That gives me a great idea. And so many times we just are so focused on the work, on the tasks, on the outcomes, on the results. I think what's so great about conferences like this is it's an opportunity to recalibrate and reset, right? It's a recharge. Like you said, it's motivation, but it's not just motivation, it's equipping as well. And then you go back and say, okay, there's more to than just focusing on the results. It's how do we get there? What are my practical strategies? What's this idea, like you said, that maybe it's not totally new, but maybe I have a new way of approaching my day.
What I have seen from, and I've been to plenty conferences and listened to keynote speakers, and I almost feel like sometimes it's in life, like we wake up every day and the world is dark, and we've got a flashlight, and we point our flashlight in a certain direction, and those are the things that we say and do and live by. And then when you've got a good keynote speaker, he's got a brighter flashlight. All the stuff is there. We just either, and you brought it up, we may have forgotten about it. It just might be out of plain sight. And a good keynote might shine that light over here or over there, or they have a big spotlight and they turn it on, or they turn on the lights in the whole room. And it's all of a sudden there's all these things that have been there the whole time. And, depending on who you are as an individual, you're going to go into the direction of maybe you're going to take some chances and do some things. So that's what I'm kind of looking for. I'll be there, brother. I'm going to be watching, and, I even, maybe I'll even have my flashlight there if I can get this thing to work here, because I'm a big part of visual, right? So,
Oh yeah.
So I'll be ready.
I can do the same. Here we go. You ready? There, I got mine.
Oh, too bright.
Get the flashlight.
So,
no, it's going to be great.
So I would imagine a big part of what you do, you're drawing on these past experiences. That's a busy guy in the winter for 20 plus years. Why did you, was it, I don't want to lead the witness. Why did you want to do that? Why did you want to be a referee and put yourself through that? Because you did. You ran yourself through the ringer for several months, over the fall and winter. Why?
Well, it started with a love of the game. Literally started with a love of the game. Ever since I was really little, came from a family of athletics, sports. My dad was a coach. My dad was a referee. I started umpiring baseball when I was really young, and then I started refereeing basketball. And I just loved the action, right? Because as you get older, you're no longer maybe playing like you were playing t-ball when you were 6 years old, or maybe you were playing high school basketball, and you're an adult, and it is a way to stay involved with the game for that love of the game. But as I mentioned, like the natural bend that I had in the corporate world, where I was leading teams from a very, very young age for a long time, the same thing kind of is with refereeing. It's that ability to lead, to steward the game, to be a part of it. And I'll tell you this, when you get inside the circle, referees are, for the most part, some of the best people you will ever meet. They are such kind, they are team-oriented for the most part, right? They are people that have integrity. They're able to make decisions without bias, because you can't be biased and be a great referee. You can't be a poor communicator and be a great referee. And so you build in that circle, and I just developed so many great friends that it really became a part of my connected circles, that it just really wasn't even a choice, right? It was just, this is a piece of who I am. And I met so many great people through it that it was like, that was just a piece of my, my life. And it was just really something that I worked really hard, wanted to pursue, wanted to be a collegiate referee. And once I was able to get to that level, it was like, there was so much joy being out there, that everybody sees the pressure, the people yelling at you, and really that didn't really bother you. For the most part, you were just focused on how good can I be today? And if I miss calls, I'm going to watch them on video, and I'm going to get better for the next game. And it was a lot of work. It was a lot of balancing. But I also did some things that still created margin in my life. And I may talk about that when I'm with everybody in Oak Brook. But the reality is that I didn't want to referee every day of the week, because you can't, right? I made choices. I decided to cap my schedule at a certain place. Certain days were going to be for my family. and there were going to be things and choices that were made, and which I think are really important for anybody, regardless of what they do. People ask me, what do you think about work-life balance, Randy? And I said, I don't think it exists. I think what exists are you have choices every day how to spend your time. And what you choose to do determines the balance that you have. And the reality of it is that it's not about balancing. It's about making choices that provide the life that you love living. And for me, my family is a very high priority. And
Sure.
I wasn't willing to be on the road 7 days a week. And I don't even do that as a speaker. I love getting out and speaking, but I don't speak at 200 events a year because I don't want to be gone all the time, regardless of how many frequent flyer miles that might give me.
Right. So, Randy, your keynote is going to be on April 23rd for those listening, and it's titled, it's Game Plan: How the Best Teams Win. And in here, just to kind of go through it here, it says, discover life and leadership lessons from Randy, 23 years on and off the court. We've got some key takeaways here: 9 strategies every winning team needs to get, key strategies and how to get along with anyone, tools to work together effectively and find common ground, and a desire to succeed and never give up. So great bullet points there. What are some things maybe intertwined with these bullet points and what I've shared? What are some reasons why, people come to you all the time, and I'm sure they engage and they tell you why they like to, participate in your talks. 2 things. What do you think people are going to take away from this based on what your message is? And again, I went over the takeaways, but what's some of the feedback that you're getting from people that have actually, come back and shared that with you?
I think that what they're going to find is that and I've said this before, there's a lot of great speakers out there. I am really going to bring a lot of energy and make it interactive. And I'm not going to have people staring at 50 slides, not putting down people that use those. But what we're really going to be doing is creating a memorable experience and sharing some stories and getting people to think and to laugh and have their emotions moved a little bit. I have a few surprises in there, along the way. It's not just telling stories about being a referee. That's not what it's about. It's
Sure.
grabbing things from different areas that I've seen in life, stories where I've seen other people do things that have been excellent or not, right? And sharing those kinds of things to give people some real nuggets that they can walk away with. And I think that most of the time, the feedback that I get is that they love the energy. They love the stories. People love that I make it very personal as well. I talk about my family and my life. I intertwine personal and professional so that when people walk out, they can be better than they walked in. It's just that simple. And like the 9 things that you mentioned, I'm going to talk about 9 things that every team, whether it's in work, at home, the basketball court, it doesn't matter. These
Sure.
9 things apply to all of them. Now, we're not going to have enough time to unpack all 9 of them in one keynote, but we're going to dive into, a few of those and what they are and demonstrate and kind of live out. And so I want to make it a lot of fun. I want people to be involved and laughing and not necessarily, sitting on their devices wondering, when does this session end?
Oh, for sure. For sure. And so we've got you busy because that following day, you've got this leadership breakout. I think that, this is based off of, and I think you mentioned it, your last book. It's The Call to Excellence, Influential Leadership for Impactful Results. It's based off of, your Amazon #1 best-selling book. Congratulations to that. And what I like about that is it's going to have a chance for people to engage with you and hear that message, but also, they can have something to reference, after the moment in time that, we spend with you. Talk to us a little bit about what people can expect from that.
Yeah, the call to excellence is going to be even more focused on the individual. There's still going to be more, some elements that are for the team. It's really about how can they live their life, live their workday with excellence, talking about ways to be brilliant in the basics and having margin, in their life, doing some very specific things. Typically, breakouts don't have as many people in them as the keynotes do. And so we can kind of create a little bit more of an intimate experience. I am going to have some of that book and maybe some of my other books along with me, so whether it's the first day or the second day, as you were saying, if they want a takeaway, there'll be opportunities to get even more resources. I intertwine some of the things that are in my books in the messaging, but it certainly is not me doing an audio version of the book. There's a lot more in the book than we could possibly cover, in a time together. But it's about, and I'll probably do some activity as well in the second day. We might even do something on the first day too, to create something that's experiential, with them. So if they're looking for things that are about growing their leadership, things that will help their team win the game, that keynote is going to be an amazing opportunity. But we're going to just kind of go a little bit deeper into some very specific strategies to help them live out each day with a little bit more excellence in that breakout the next morning.
Randy, I'm looking forward to it. I know that our team here, part of this Midwest Staffing Conference, the group, we're all looking forward to it. April 23rd and 24th. Again, if you haven't registered already, get yourself signed up. And Randy, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. We'll see you all real soon.
Looking forward to it, April 23rd and 24th. So, yeah, make sure, again, you can go to that if you want to. You can Google Midwest Staffing Conference 2025, and you can find out information from there. And as far as this podcast goes, man, we're so glad we've had a lot of them that we've done this year. We've got a lot of people that are listening and tuning in, and thank you. Please remember, if you haven't done so, subscribe, watch us on YouTube, share it with your friends and family, repost these as you see them. And also remember, if you want to learn more about who we are as an organization and our contribution to the staffing community with our Ultra Staff Edge platform, reach out to us. We're abd.net. Ask for me. We're glad to talk to you guys. But again, this is about the Midwest Staffing Conference. We're all going to come together, like-minded people that are partners in staffing, people that are, we're going to have good folks like Randy on here that are going to leave you better than they found you. So just a real exciting time. So very highly anticipated and looking forward to it. So with that said, just want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in and listening in. And more importantly, getting registered and seeing you at the conference. And I hope you stop by and say hi. So until next time, thanks for joining us on the Staffing Buzz Network. I'm Bob Petke.